So I'm curious, how many of you would like to experience more love in your life? Yeah? Okay, wait a minute, let me ask that again. How many of you would like to experience more love in your life? Yeah! Yes! And how's your relationship with yourself going? How's that self-love going? Want more of that too? Yeah! Okay, so our mission here at this center is to teach practices that create joy-filled lives. And I want to share with you today a practice that has been foundational and key to my joy-filled life that I experience today. So today I'm going to share a story of love, a love story. And it starts in 2012, 12 years ago. So I had been working for a company for about 2 years. That company is called Evolving Wisdom. You may have heard of it. And it's one of its co-founders, Dr. Claire Zammit. She's a very dear, brilliant teacher and mentor of mine. She hired me when they were first starting out. It was a startup. And we grew really, really fast. And 2 years in, I was now the Art of Love community director. But there's a little catch to that, because I was divorced and I had no desire to do that again. I was like, oh, no, not getting married, not even doing the love thing, doesn't work for me, hell to the no. And she was like, I really want you, and I had become a coach, and she was like, I really want you to be supporting the participants in the program. And I felt out of integrity. And so I brought that to her, and I just said, this doesn't feel right for me. And so she said, how about this? In her brilliant way, she challenged me. She said, how about this? How about you take on all of the principles and practices that we teach here about love, which are aligned with our principles and practices that we teach here, and blog about it and share with the Art of Love community each week. Just send an email talking about how it's going. Here's another catch. There were about 100,000 people on that email list. Talk about visibility and being vulnerable in that. Have you ever been in that place where you're about to share vulnerably with a lot of people? I'm a pretty loyal person, and Claire had done a lot for me. So I thought, oh, I really need to do this. I need to do it for her, for the community. And I really wanted to be a good scout and go through it all and do good by her. And the truth is, I could sense a part of me that was still yearning for love. And so I started doing all the practices, taking on the principles, writing emails to 100,000 people, dating. I was online dating, and I thought, oh, what the heck? I'm going to push it to be available to anyone in the world. He could be anywhere. Hadn't had any luck up until now, so why not? And so I was dating, and if I met a guy that was nice enough, I would say, okay, let's give it a shot. Never worked. And finally, I met someone, very nice person, good person, and I thought, oh, this is the guy. And I announced it to 100,000 people. I shared it with Claire. She's like, let's do an interview and blast it out to everybody. Did that. put it out on Facebook where I had a few thousand friends, my family, everybody's cheering me on. Yay, she did it! 6 months later, that relationship crashed and burned and blew up in my face. Yay! And I was so horrified, honestly. I was embarrassed, and I was doing a really big-time shame spiral. It took me a couple of days to really pull myself out of that. Anybody relate to a shame spiral? Oh, no fun, right? Oh. Now, up to that point, I had been on a transformational journey. I was part of a center very much like this one. I was doing the classes, and if you heard my talk in the fall called You Matter, I was working on shifting that old story that I don't matter. So I knew that I needed to create that container for myself and bring in empathy and bring in compassion for myself. And as I was doing this, I had the realization, oh, you know what? In my whole life, all these decades, all those failed relationships, the one common denominator was me. And so I thought, okay, wow, have to turn toward that. And so I did. And when I did that, I got in touch with a part of me. And of course, you know, we all have different parts of ourselves, right? I got in touch with a part of me that I hadn't been in touch with before, as far as I knew. And it was this 5-year-old little girl. And I could see her. She had pigtails, and she was just looking up at me. And I started a conversation. And what I learned from this part of me is that she was carrying a story around, I'm unlovable. It was deep. And you know, this is true for not that story necessarily, but it's true for all of us. I mean, I don't think any of us goes through life unscathed. I mean, if anybody's in here who hasn't gone through some really hard things or had traumas or pains, please raise your hand. Oh my gosh, Michael. Okay, he says he's kidding. All right. Whew. Okay, poster child. No, so anyway, we all have these, right? So I just want to say something about this really fast, because I think our consciousness, which we talk a lot about here, this is what we're about, transforming consciousness. And everything that's like we're aware of is up here, right? And once we're aware of what's in our consciousness, any stories, beliefs, assumptions, when we're aware of it, we have the power to shift it. If we're not aware of it, it's in the subconscious or the unconscious, however you want to put it. And it's down in our bodies a lot of the time. Stories that are here, that's also running our life. And so personal inquiry is really important in our teaching and taking personal responsibility for ourselves. I want to read you something that our beloved founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, wrote in his talk called Sermon by the Sea. He gave this talk in 1959. It was one of the last talks he gave before he died the following year. And he says, "Only that which reveals me to myself can be a message to me. Only that which gives me back myself can save me. Only that which leads me to the God within myself can reveal God. What shall reveal the self to the self? The self shall raise the self by the self." Okay, so here I was, understanding now that I had this belief that I was unlovable. And I could see how that story outpictured in my life. I could suddenly see it all. From the people I chose to how I was showing up, life was definitely mirroring back that story to me in love. And so I had the idea, okay, I need to transform this story. I need to support this part of myself. And it was all about giving myself love, turning toward myself with love. And so I started doing that. I was connecting to this little 5-year-old part of me, and I was saying to her, I love you. You are love itself, and you deserve all the love. And I've got you. I'm here now. And I also took on Louise Hay's mirror work, standing in front of the mirror saying, and this was not easy, I love you, Ashley. And that in the beginning was like, oh, but over time became more comfortable. So for about 2 months, I was turning toward myself with love, pouring love into myself. And one day I woke up and I felt different. Before then, I had felt like this two-dimensional character, kind of flat. And I've always been a person of service. Like, I was that little kid that was picking up worms that were on the cement and making sure I got them back in the dirt, and then graduated to strays, helping stray animals, and then stray people. I was always that. But what I realized is that service that I was giving was completely disconnected from me. Anybody relate to that? Yeah, a lot of caregivers can relate to that. So this was different. Pouring in the love, and now I felt like three-dimensional. It felt so good. I felt filled with love. And it was like I had been filling my own cup so that the cup was overflowing now. And I couldn't wait to give love and be of service in a whole new way, giving love. So I went outside that day, and I stood there, and I announced to the universe, all right, universe, you know what? I have so much love in my life. I've got my daughters, I've got my great work and the people I work with in my community and my friends. I have so much love in my life. I just wasn't able to receive it before. So, universe, I know my guy is out there, but he's going to have to land in my lap. I'm not doing a thing more to find him. Because now, for me, that kind of love, that would just be icing on the cake. I was loving life now. 6 weeks later, my daughters, I took them to the beach, and my young daughter, Kira, took a picture of me that day. We had a lovely day. And when I got home, grabbed my laptop, I was sitting on my couch, and I had my laptop in my lap. I posted that picture and said, what a beautiful day it was at the beach. Not long after, I heard a ding. I had a message. Okay, who's messaging me? And I look, and it was this guy who I had been noticing on Facebook in the last 6 weeks. He was posting spiritual practices every day, and I really loved what he was saying. I could really relate to what he was saying, and I was like, he talks like me. He thinks like me. He uses multiple exclamation points like me. I really liked him. So I opened up the message, and it said, you're way prettier than the beach. Ooh, I know. So, what was really fun, so when I had shifted that story of I am deeply lovable, just as I am, when I shifted into that place, in that 6-week period, men were coming out of the woodwork. It was really fun. But What was different was I was so deeply connected to myself that I could tell this wasn't my person. So I was just, thank you, but no. I didn't go on any dates in that period. But when I got this message, that voice, sweet voice inside, I know it was my soul, said, you gotta respond to this one. So I did. I wrote him back and I said, I've been loving your spiritual practices. And so he wrote me right back and he said, thank you. Would you like to join me in my virtual community? Even better. Like, okay. That's the best pickup line I've ever heard. So I joined him on video, and we had a 2-hour conversation that flew by. And I loved his smile and his energy, and we just had a great time, just easy, connected. We talked about what lights us up, what inspires us to get up in the morning, and he shared with me that he was about to graduate ministerial school. That was big points for me because I wanted a spiritual man. And of course, I'm talking about my beloved. He's very shy, don't mind him. Yeah. Anyway, so that very night in our first conversation, I had this feeling like, I think this might be my guy. 6 months later, he moved from Ohio to California to be with me. A year and a half later, we were married, and we'll celebrate 9 years of marriage this fall. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, my story doesn't end there. I continued with my self-love practice because, y'all, this is a path. This is not something. How many of you have ever had a relationship that once you got into it, you went, okay, I don't need to deal with that anymore? Takes tending, doesn't it? So does your own relationship with yourself. It takes tending. So I continued my practice of self-love. And over time, of course, just more and more love was flowing out, and I became a licensed spiritual practitioner. And I had a deep calling. I really wanted to support people to heal their lives and to love themselves. Can you imagine a world where everyone loved themselves? Yes! Believe! So that led me into wanting to be a minister. I couldn't think of a better way to express all the love I was feeling. And so that journey began. And many of you know that I graduated from school in June, finished ministerial school, master's in consciousness studies. Thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you. And this past week, on Wednesday, the final step, not really final, but you know what I mean, sort of, in this process. And I stood before a panel of ministers. Actually, I sat on Zoom, but there they were. And thankfully, we have an amazing practitioner corps here. I asked them to be on the high watch for me, and if they could pray for me, and they did, and I could feel that. I felt so buoyed. And in that time, these ministers, who I didn't know, were questioning me for an hour, asking me questions about my consciousness, my readiness, my ministry. They sent me away out of the room so they could talk about me. That was I don't know how long it was. And then they brought me back in and said, it is our great pleasure to be the first to congratulate you on becoming a licensed minister with Centers for Spiritual Living. Yay! Oh, thank you. And I have to say, there is no better community than this community that I would rather step into in this role. So I just want to make it plain. Self-love was what got me here with all of you. And I want to say to you that as a licensed spiritual minister here, first of all, I am stepping onto an incredible ecclesiastical team here, led by my beloved and the brilliant Catherine McLeod and the brilliant Tammy Banting. And so I want to say to you, as a newly licensed spiritual minister, I am at your service. Thank you. Self-love. I just want you all to feel that. And if you are already on that journey, great. Keep going. It just gets better. Just gets better. And if any of you, do you know Anita Morjani's story? Yes. Anybody not know? Okay, a lot of you. All right. I'll make it brief. Anita Morjani was dying. She had cancer riddled throughout her body. She was on her deathbed. Her family had gathered to say their goodbyes, and she slipped into a coma. When she was in that coma, she had a remarkable, extraordinary near-death experience. And when she came back into her body, of course, everybody was shocked. She healed all of that cancer in her body in a matter of days. Doctors could not explain it. And what she got from that near-death experience, what she brought back and now speaks about so beautifully, is this: love yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. Yes. So I would love to invite you all into a little practice with me that I'd encourage you to take into your week. Just taking your hands and placing them right over your heart. It's a great place to even tap your fingers. There's some nice tapping points that's right here. But just turning toward yourself now with so much love. And insert your name and saying, I love you, Ash. You are love itself. You are enough. You are worthy. You matter. And you deserve all the love. All the love. Thank you, everyone. I love you so much. Thank you.